Y'all, we are back, and I am so grateful, so glad to be back with y'all. It's been over a year since I last recorded a podcast episode, and I'm also very grateful and glad for all of the work that I needed to do behind the scenes to be able to show up for y'all today the way that I want to show up. So, it is intentional that this podcast is being recorded on February 17th. Chinese New Year, entering into the year of the fire horse. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about Chinese zodiac, and yet it also feels very relevant to what's been going on and how I feel internally and how I want to move. So this podcast episode, honestly, is me sharing what I have been focused on, what I have been working through this past year, also longer than this past year, but it really does feel like there are some visceral changes over the past year as a way of providing context and foundation for 2026 and how I want to be moving into 2026 and what I'm committed to and what I'm focused on. And I'm excited. I'm excited. So if I were to condense what has been going on for me this past year, it has been a reevaluation for me and a redefinition of my own value, my own worth, and how I get to, at this point in my life, navigate the world and who I want to be in the world. And the catalyst for this, honestly, was my dad having a heart attack. So my dad had a major heart attack New Year's Eve into 2025. And he chose at that point not to have surgery, and he went into hospice. And good news, he's out of hospice and he's still alive and he is doing as good as possible. And yet those couple of months, January and February, forced me on a very different level to look at how I was interacting with people in my life, how I was in relationship with others and with myself, and how I was measuring my own value and my own worth in this world. And it was real clear that the foundations that I built as a kid on how to actually be valuable in this world, survive, were no longer working. Not work. Now, I know that they've not been working for a while for me. And yet this year I faced it head on. So what did that look like for me? About 4 years ago, I have a coach, Maggie Reyes. I love her. She asked a question. She said, what would you do if you treated yourself like you matter? Now, y'all, at the time, it was like a gut punch when I heard that. And I sobbed by myself in a car. I mean, body shake sobs, the sounds coming out of my throat. I didn't even know it was of this body. Sobs. Because I realized at that point that I don't ever remember living a life where I treated myself like I mattered. What I tended to do, and honestly, I think it's still my tendency, but what I tended to do, my default was treat everybody else like they mattered more. And whatever energy came at the end, then there was me. Now, this was a way that I coped as a kid. I grew up in an emotionally volatile household, and the way that I survived was to be very aware of the needs of other people, to be hyper vigilant about everybody else's emotions, to make sure that I took care of everybody, that I made sure that people are well, often at the cost of myself, but I didn't know that then, to ensure that I could continue to survive and be okay in this world. And it has. Those skills have served me. I'm still teaching, I'm still coaching, and I'm probably real good at what I do now because I was real good at it back then. But at what cost? At what cost? And me treating everybody else like they mattered more than me has cost me a lot of my emotional and physical well-being, financial well-being, my energy. And I have been working through that in stages. So again, when I heard this about 4 years ago, Cielle, what if you treated yourself like you mattered? Realized, oh, I haven't been doing that in my job, in my career. Granted, as teachers, y'all, we are also trained and taught to be underappreciated, undervalued, underpaid. That's how the system works. Yes. So disattaching myself from that and being like, oh yeah, okay, hold on. I'm actually no longer willing to do that at the detriment of myself. Okay, clear. Working on that. And then I realized in my marriage, I was doing the same thing and wondering, okay, what does a marriage look like if I treated myself like I mattered? Maybe just equally so as my husband. Okay, what does that look like? And then I realized with my kids, do I actually get to treat myself like I matter? Do I get to actually do things that aren't draining once they're old enough to like take care of themselves a little bit? What does that look like as a parent, where I get to treat them like they matter and also treat myself like I matter? And then in friendships, it's like, oh my gosh, leaning into the friendships that feel nourishing both ways, where I'm just not caring for them, providing all of the advice and all of the things, and them not showing up for me, and realizing, oh my gosh, I actually get to have friends. All my friends feel nourishing both ways. What is that like? And then, so it's like, oh, there's another layer. Oh, here it is showing up again. And then this year it was with my parents. And with my parents, I've been living with a hope. And it's a simplified equation. I think I have been hoping, or I was hoping, that if I provided them with enough care, because I do know for both of them that they feel loved and cared for when I take care of them, when they are taken care of, when they are provided for, when I am doing things that they want me to do, when I am acting in ways that they want me to act, that's how they experience love and care and appreciation. What's missing, though, is the cost that it had been on me. And the equation that I was working from is, if I provide enough love and care for them or for any human, that would equal a return of love and care. And the way that I feel love and cared for is feeling seen and known and appreciated and loved for who I am and who I know myself to be. What became very clear with my parents at the beginning of this year was, no matter how much I loved and cared for them, no matter how much I supported them financially by buying houses, by inviting them to stay with us, no matter how much I cared for them when they're sick or in surgery or at the hospital, no matter how much I did that side of the equation, they may leave this earth and this life without ever knowing who I am, seeing who I am, loving me for who I am. And that was heartbreaking. But it may have been a heartbreak that I needed to experience because it allowed me to change my actions. It allowed me to see reality for what it was and not me live in this hope that no matter how much I give, perhaps I'm going to receive back. And realizing, y'all, like, this equation doesn't work. So now what? And it honestly felt like the foundations that I had built my value and my worth and how I measure who I am in this world and my worthiness in this world and my deservingness and my impact in this world was crashing down. Because at the same time that this was happening with my family, also I'm aging. So I am now 44 and I'm fully in middle age. So now I'm also working with society's standards. Let's just talk patriarchal standards here in the United States related to women. Now, what makes us worthy and valuable? Youth, sexiness and attractiveness to men, which includes being thin, which also includes being passive and quiet and not questioning. And y'all, I have fully outgrown all of those. Outgrown? Outgrown all of those. So now, apparently, according to society, I am no longer valuable either because I have lost my youth and my fitness and my ability to stay quiet and passive. I still have that ability. I just don't want to go there. Yes. So it's like, oh, hold up. And in that space, with all of that going on, I realized it is imperative for me to be able to ground myself in my own value that feels sturdy and steady and unwavering, so that when storms happen around me, I get to plant myself within and know who I am. And as I've been reflecting on how I can redefine value for myself, I wondered, can I use myself as a barometer? And I've often thought of my younger selves, different versions of me for this. And I just imagine me at 11 and 12. And I remember wondering, is it actually possible for me to be an adult where I respect how I adult? I get to adult and live life my way. And when I think of her, it's like, holy shit, we did it. Yes, we do. And not only that, we've surrounded ourselves with people whom we respect. And they support us in our lives, and we get to be with them every single day. And then I think of my 14-year-old self, and my 14-year-old self was watching Mirror Has Two Faces, and she knew that she wanted to teach and support young adults. And it's like, honey, we've been doing that for 25 years, and we're pretty extraordinary at it. We've done amazing along those lines. Like, yes, you are able to do that. We did that. Yay! And then I think of myself at 20. And at 2021, I wondered, is it possible for me to live out loud, fully, all of me, without masking, without performing, without changing my personality based on the group that I was in, because I found that exhausting? Do I get to just be me in all the places where I feel like myself? Yes. Ew, look at us go. And then there was the 22-year-old me who was already teaching and living her dream in France and doing that thing that I had set out to. And at 22, I was like, oh, is this it? Are we going to be teaching for the next 80 years? Like, I'm already living my dream. I wonder, do I get to actually try different things, different careers, different hobbies? Do I get to do that and see if I love them as much as teaching? I did that too. And we've danced and we've ran schools and we've been principals and deans and we had a international wedding planning company. And there's a pride in that I was willing to be courageous and go against the grain to do all of those things. Like, we did that. It's like, check. And then I loved romance, romantic comedies. And I wonder, do I get to actually have a partnership, a relationship with somebody like I've seen in the movies, or like I dreamed of, or like I hoped I could have? Different than I had seen as relationship models growing up in the adults around me. And the answer is yes. Do I get to have kids? Do I get to be with them? Do I get to live in a house with a beautiful view? Do I get to have a wraparound porch? Do I get to do all of those things? And I'm at a place in my life where it's like, yes, you do. You've done all of those things. When I use me as my barometer, it's so easy to see my worth and my value and to respect myself, because I've done all the things that have been important to me, and that's been a game changer. And it is only from this space now that I am able to start to quantify, y'all, I still like evidential support, my impact in the world. And last week, I found a document. So I have these documents that say why I teach, why I coach, kind words. That's feedback from students. And I have them over decades, thousands and thousands of these messages. And I keep them, and I keep them as a way of reminding myself of why I keep at it. And I found 2 documents last week that I hadn't seen in years. And it was from about 5 to 6 years ago, feedback from students. And I realized that it was very similar to a lot of the feedback that I'm still getting about how much I care. And in them, there's a variety of ways that I have impacted their lives. And what hit me and what struck me was that they were very similar to the ones that I received just a month ago. And I started to think that I've been doing this for 25 years. How many students, how many young adults, how many humans have I cared for and supported and impacted in this way? And I did a very quick calculation, and I'm in the thousands. It ended up being like 6,000 something of human beings where I have known their name, been with them through time, known their personalities, know what they're up to, know what they want, know their likes and their dislikes and their hopes and their dreams. Over 6,000. I had to pause. And then I remembered vividly one student, and he also coached with me. And he stopped me because, y'all, taking feedback this way where people tell me that I've changed their lives is tough for me to receive. And he knew that. And he stopped me and he was telling me how much I impacted his life. And then he said, "No, Cielle, you need to listen to me right now because of our relationship and our conversations. Not only have you changed and altered the trajectory of my life, but you have also altered the trajectory of my parents' life, of my siblings' lives, of my cousins. We now own a home. We have a home that we can live in. I now have a business where I can hire my friends and my cousins. My parents now have a business of their own where they're making money. None of this would be possible without you and our conversations. You have fundamentally altered the life of my family." And I was thinking about him and I said, well, I think about 7 degrees of separation, right? And I was like, what if I multiplied the 6,000 something by 7? Now I'm envisioning that I get to fill a stadium. I get to fill a stadium of people that have been impacted by my work. And it was at that point where any concept that I had about not having any value at my age went out the door. And I was like, are you kidding me? It took me 25 years to be able to have this kind of impact. My age matters, and I am a more knowledgeable, more experienced person who can support young adults on a very different level than I ever could at 20. Realizing now that at my age, the kind of impact that I want to make in the world only exponentially grows. I actually get to build off of all of that experience to be even more impactful. And then I compounded it because then I started to look at all of the students who I taught who wanted to be teachers and the feedback of, you showed me what kind of teacher I could be, or you showed me what kind of classroom I could create, or you show me what kind of environment matters. And it's a humbling space to be in, to know and to actually be in communication with so many of them who are already teaching. I get to see my legacy a little bit while being alive. And I then pictured all of their students. And I don't know, I just multiplied that. And I was like, I may be able to fill stadiums now of people who have been impacted by this human. This person who was 14 years old and watched a fucking movie and said, I want to do that. And the 30 years it took for me to continue to stand with that may have impacted stadiums filled with people. And when I imagine that, I thank you, Metallica, and thank you, Taylor Swift, for us being able to measure that many people dancing and singing together creates earthquakes, seismic shifts in the physical world. And so when I'm starting to relook at and think about my value and my impact in the world, and I envision that, shit, whatever this gap is, this thing, this I don't know, do y'all call it core wound, insecurity, vulnerability, that I'm not enough and I'm always trying to create more and make more impact. Y'all, when I thought of that image and envisioned that last week, I was like, that already happened. I already did that. Nobody can take that away. It's already happened. That change, that seismic shift, I've already been that for people. It's already been created. And that feels like a very different space for me to now walk into 2026. Whereas before, I was always trying to work towards my value and finding more and more evidence to prove that I am valuable and worthy and of love and care and all of the amazing things in my life. And now realizing, oh, I could do nothing else other than sit on the couch and drink bubble tea and watch heated rivalry. And I will have created already impacts to thousands of people, perhaps even stadiums full. That has already been done. And so now that I've already lived that purpose, I've done it. Now what? Now what do I get to do? What feels fun? So that's the space that I'm heading into 2026 with. I know I want to be in action more. I know I want to be in more conversations. I know that I want to try things new. And I'm coming from a place of curiosity. So I know that I'm not done. I'm not done yet. Done yet. I still want to support young adults around the world, here, over there, in a variety of ways. I don't know what that's going to look like and what I'm committed to. It just feels like a year where I'm going to try a whole bunch of different things and see what sticks as a way of learning and growing my own expertise so that I can provide you with more and more insights that actually matter to you and do so in a way that feels really good. On a side note, but it's not a side note, I know that my next barometer is, do I get to do this and also feel financial abundance while doing this? Do I get to create a steady, predictable income? One that surpasses my wildest dreams. One where I get to break generational patterns related to money. That's a whole other story. But I'm leaning into it because I do hope that me at 65 will be able to look back at me at 44 and go, you know, Cielle, remember at 44 when you wondered if it was possible to make the kind of money that you dream of so that you can make the kind of communal change for yourself, for your family, for the communities that you love, that you could travel the way that you want to? Can you live life like that dream that you have, that vision that you have is possible, but you're not quite sure it's possible for you? We're going to make that happen. And I hope that me at 65 gets to be like, oh, we did that too. So welcome to us. 2026. We're here. I'm excited about the ride. And I'm excited about y'all joining me for all of it, portions of it. We'll see where it goes. And thanks for being here. And of course, if there was anything that stuck out to you, new perspectives, anything that made you think about your life, I would love to know. Comment, message me, like this. All of it matters. Thank you.